I've been on the waste since 1978, living off the unwelfare state, and I won't grow up for anyone because I'm middle-aged and fucked. I could never be a hippie, was never quite a punk. It no longer really matters because we're all middle-aged and fucked. As your fragile personality gropes at infinite reality, you know there's no escaping, you're all middle-aged and fucked. Good afternoon.
That was a lovely way to describe yourself.
Well, yeah, it was semi-ironic, autobiographical, that one, but yeah.
I am Vijaya, Vedic Astrologer, and I'm here to talk with Diston on behalf of the Circle of Divine. And Diston, I want to talk to you about your life, and we have your chart in front of us. And what I see is a Libra Ascendant. It's in Vishaka, the nakshatra, so that makes you very ambitious in nature, but it's also a nakshatra that wants purity in its ideals. And the Ascendant Lord Venus is placed in the 10th house with Rahu. So that's a difficult position where your intellect is always looking at newer and foreign things, a little bit weird as well. So we also have Rahu Ketu in the 410 axis with Saturn, a retrograde Saturn in Capricorn. So with so many malefics in the Kendras, I think it would be a very difficult life. It's called what we call as a Sarpa Yoga, that you're tied between these planets and you're tied with the actions that you bring with these planets.
Possibly, yeah. That's a nice excuse, I guess. Yeah, I mean, ambitious, not in a worldly sense, but I've always been sort of like arty and wanting to create wonderful things, and I'm quite ambitious in that respect. But not for houses, money, generally speaking.
No, that's because, you see, your sun is so beautiful. It's in a nakshatra called Punarvasu, which is a very creative and arty nakshatra, you know. Yeah. So your inner soul is impelled by this. This is the impulse.
Well, our artists' lives are never that easy. Usually, generally speaking, and in that respect, I've got the cliche. Even if I don't know how good I am at it, but I've definitely got the right mindset for it. And I read the biographies of other artists. I recognise that.
And not only that, your moon, which is your mind, and it's also in a nakshatra of Purva Falguni, which is ruled by Venus. So it is a very it's a very Venusian nakshatra, so you like all beautiful things, and art and music come under that as well. And then you have in the Kendras, along with all these malefics, what is a saving grace is Venus, so which is your ascendant lord, and that makes your whole life tolerable, actually. It's your escape route, but it's also your purpose in life. It gives you your intelligence.
I'd agree with that, more or less. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so there's more about it that I wanted to say about
my creativity is very important because sometimes that's all I've got.
That's
or it seems that way anyway.
But you're driven by that.
Yeah, because I am.
Taking you back to, after about 21, 24, there must have been some changes in your life between 25 and 32, because you have something, we have the Atma Karaka planet, which is a planet with the longest highest degree, basically, highest longitude, and it is Mercury. But then you have a planet just next to it, the Amartya Karaka Venus, replacing it. So at some point between when Venus gets mature at 25 and Mercury at 31, 32, you must have had a change in your outlook and more opportunities, and you must have turned more confident about your Venus abilities.
I suppose that sort of time would sort of describe the time when I was more or less getting out of the small town. I was a country boy who moved to the nearest small town, and eventually it wasn't big enough for me, though I thought, if I stayed there for a long time. So that would explain that possibly. I mean, I ended up doing theatre in Italy and moving to Liverpool because Cheltenham wasn't big enough or interesting enough for me. So that may explain those things. I mean, that was actually, the moving to Liverpool was more like I was more or less 35, so... But I certainly sort of saw me looking further afield than the immediate area I was born in.
Yes, and you must have kind of. I think you fell in love between 25 and 31 as well.
Yeah.
Significant love.
Yeah, Possibly, yeah. It's difficult to say, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, I've probably done it sort of. I have three major relationships in my life which have lasted a long time, and a couple of intense short ones. But
one thing I see in your chart is you're totally an out-of-the-box thinker, right? You're unlike everyone else.
I wouldn't say I'm unlike anyone else, but I'm certainly unusual. The older I get, the more I realise that, because when you're young, we're all out-of-the-box thinkers. But I think people of my age with that, it's a rarer thing. I think you have to lead a creative or artistic life because there are so many habits that people pick up, and I like to break them. Ultimately, I'm boring in places, but
yeah, no, I love the word when you say you want to break them. You know, when I go back to your chart, I see that you have the Rahu Ketu in the most important 4th and 10th house, and it's also your Aruda Lagna is in Capricorn with Ketu in it, with Saturn, in retrograde Saturn, and a Rahu in the 7th house. So what happens when you have Aruda Lagna is an image of your actual self, of how other people see you. So with Ketu there, they can see you as intuitive, but with Saturn there, they might think, well, you're a bit different. But what happens when you have Rahu in the 7th is it's almost like we call a goddess of disorder, Nritti is on you.
Yeah.
So almost you create everything you create comes out of some kind of disorder.
Mm-hmm. Well, you could say that, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not what you'd call a sort of a classical artist by any standards. So a lot of things do come out of disorder, and they're just, you throw things at it and you see what sticks best, or the most interesting position, I suppose, to a point. But yeah, I think I can agree with that. And I'm somewhat of a rebel, I guess. Although I'm very quiet and polite for long periods of time, but I hate injustice, and eventually I'm impatient as well. So maybe that explains a few things.
Well, the sense of injustice, justice comes from the sun being so strong. The sun is always about right and wrong, and never about relationships.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to argue with the sun. And I also see Mars in the 9th house in the Navamsha chart. And that can make you quite rebellious and rash, actually, at times. Yeah,
I'm reckless. It has, well, yes, you still am.
So let's look at your Navamsha. You know, Navamsha is your past life destiny chart, and it's absolutely beautiful. You do have the Rahu Ketu in the nodes in the 1-7 axis, and that must have meant a difficult birth.
Yeah, it was actually a breech birth, I was told. I can't remember it myself, but feet first.
Okay, so that's what, often nodes in the 1-7 axis in the Navamsha, show that there has been some difficulty in the birth or premature. But you do have beautiful benefics in the Kendras, and which have Rashi aspect on this Rahu Ketu, which has really, saved you. So you have, this is a Gemini Lagna with Ketu and Rahu in the 7th in Sagittarius. The nodes are debilitated. But you have an exalted Mercury in the 4th, an exalted Venus, and an retrograde Jupiter in the 10th house, in its own house in Pisces. That's absolutely beautiful. A Venus, and a Jupiter together in Pisces. So that shows a lot of creativity. The 10th house is all about work and fortune. So there must be some good periods in your life.
And it has its moments.
When does your Jupiter Dasha come? It's almost like 2021. Should be good. It should be good because any planet, any benefic in the 10th house in the Navamsha tends to give very good results. But there's one thing I do want to point out in your Navamsha, which would have kind of ruined your image a little bit or made you very reckless and rash, and that's Mars in the 9th house. When you have such a position, you almost take on all your elders, establishment, and you're perceived as somebody who's not towing the line or...
Yeah.
Have you done anything wrong?
I've spent a lifetime of sort of general rebellion. I don't particularly rebel against my elders anymore because I am one of them. But I'll give you an example. When I was 49 years old, I was living in social housing and got myself into a bit of a state with no money, no ill, and had a shit landlord who were making my life a misery. I ended up setting fire to my flat and phoning the police saying, "Come and get me." I ended up spending 1.5 years in jail and 1.5 years in probation.
God.
So, but that was took me 49 years to get that.
So that was during the dasha of Rahu Mercury,
That
and
would be-
Mercury is the 12th lord in the 8th house, so it sent you to prison.
Yeah. But it's a rebirth after a fashion, if you like.
And one would think that the nodes would give in after 45, but at 49 this Mars has made you do this.
Yeah, if you say so, yeah. I mean, I don't know what. Well, circumstances made me do it, but I can't. These things happen. It's almost.
What compelled you to do that?
Because I thought that I had no work. I was sick, and I had no money, and it was being cut off. And these people had been treating me like shit for 7 years, and it just got to the point I wasn't seeing my son. Everything was going with shit. And it got to the point of self-harm or change. So I thought I'll change at any cost and show these people what for. And that was it, really. That's I don't hope I'd have to do that again. Once is enough.
Yeah, but these are the things that Sarpa Yoga brings to you, right? But
Yeah.
they say bandhana, it's like being caught by serpents, but then you've actually been imprisoned as well.
Yeah.
And it was this frustration that made you do.
Yeah, well, I
things.
felt better off in prison than I did beforehand. I mean, it's not. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, including myself. And yet, it was a better situation than I was in beforehand. Up here.
Yeah, because you got a home.
I was I had a home, but I was sort of just desperate, and it got to the point it was killing me. If I had anger inside you, it was a way of letting it out.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's very difficult with Sarpa Yogas. Normally, you need one benefic. He does have the Venus. So we have to enhance your Venus even more to be more happy. They do say that they all let off by 45, 48.
Well, my last 2 years since I've moved to Portugal have been some of the happiest of my life. It's been a great choice, really.
So you moved somewhere in Rahu Venus time, right?
That must be sort of 2 years ago. Yeah, 2015.
So Venus
Spring.
is your ascendant lord, and also the new Atma Karaka, and you decided to go southeast from London to Portugal.
Well, it's southwest, isn't it, from here? Yeah, southwest.
Southwest.
Yeah. But I'm keen on the west coast. I've lived in Liverpool, which is port city on the west. Bristol's a port city on the west, which is the closest big city to where I come from. So the west coast seems to suit me.
So your two preferred directions in life are given by the ascendant lord, which is in conjunction with Rahu and Ashlesha. Is basically the direction of Rahu is southwest and the direction of Venus being southeast. So you moved.
Do you think I'm moving in the wrong direction?
I don't think so. I think you're caught in that direction, either southwest or I think southeast is nicer because you'd be in the direction of Venus.
Yeah.
And southwest is the direction of the node Rahu.
See, if this South
Which is
America
sitting on your intellect. Yeah, South America.
If the South America thing works up, I'd always prefer the Atlantic coast to the Pacific, though. I don't fancy all that Atacama stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think.
I can understand, which is why I think Brazil will be great for you.
Yeah. Brazil, River Plate, down to the River Plate. But I don't know.
Even Argentina, as they say.
I've read loads of South American stuff. German music, South American literature, Japanese music too.
So definitely Argentina then.
I wouldn't mind Argentina.
And
Argentina and Uruguay.
I was just going to,
Montevideo was probably my favourite because everyone says that Buenos Aires is a bit snobby and they're more sort of down to earth in Montevideo.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this Rahu is propelling.
So I'm told.
This Venus and Rahu are they're conjunct in Ashlesha, which is actually a nakshatra of the Sarpas, and it's very fascinating. And it's a hard one though. It's a hard one because it's just before the Gandanta point, right? And Ashlesha, and because it's Rahu, it's like making you like all the foreign things, all the things that are unknown, and you want to dig things out and all the secrets. And all the sensual bits as well.
Currently,
nice.
the Rahu Ketu are having a nodal return.
Yeah, he's having a nodal
return. That's going to be
return.
a brilliant time for him.
Yeah.
You're going to do quite well now.
Thank you.
You can reinvent your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aren't they lovely?
You're getting a chance again.
Be a child again. I think I've done quite a lot of that being a child, I think.
No, you'll get a chance again.
I'll get a chance again, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And
I need one more at least.
Yeah, and of course Rahu is always turbulent for everyone.
Yeah.
And given the fact that it is with your ascendant lord, it affects your intellect. You do like foreign things. I mean, if I can take you back to your relationships, you mentioned that you had 3 or something significant relationships. Were they all like I can see that you had tough time with them because your seventh lord is in the eighth house in your Rashi chart, in your D1. That makes it very difficult to keep relationships going. The seventh and the eighth house should never be connected. And then if I go to the Navamsha, you have Rahu in Sagittarius, which is a debilitated node. So there must have been like many foreigners in your life, in your choice of women.
Well, yeah, I was with an Italian woman in my late 20s. And I almost had an intense, ridiculous relationship with a Mexican-American 10 years ago. And I suppose that's it. I've always looked elsewhere. And for a country boy, I'm quite adventurous, I suppose.
Which is interesting. You mentioned the Rahu Ketu. That how do women take your attire, your external?
You don't pull looking like this, because I'm not blow my own trumpet, but for a person my age, I'm sort of well proportioned. I'm good looking, and all the rest of it. My bank balance is shit, but I don't pull anyone. I've got loads of women friends, but I don't pull anyone these days. Absolutely not. No. I pull bizarre sort of married blokes. They're the sort of they love me, and Africans like me as well. They fancy the look of me, but women never.
Right.
Yeah. I think they like the look, but I think they sort of. If I don't want to be critical of the whole genre or gender, but women do like their sort of guys easy to decipher quite often. I find, and I'm not that. The unusualness is is quite baffling, I guess.
So how would you forget about the how people describe like, oh, she's a whatever transvestite or whatever. How would you kind of classify, because you are straight, aren't you?
I'm mostly straight. Basically, I fall in love with women and fuck men.
Yeah.
I haven't been with a woman for many, many years, but when the itch gets too much, I'm tired of giving it the wanking, so I go for a sort of an assisted wank with the boy, and I need lots of drugs usually, but it does work to a point. Do you know what I mean? But women do the head thing for me, which is makes it a different ball game. So yeah.
What's the head thing?
Well, it means it keeps you interested. Once I've actually sort of scratched that itch, I'm thinking, what the fuck? I don't regret things. I never regret things.
So the Venus rules over the moon. Moon is usually the music, the one that brings the music element.
Yeah, the Libra Lagna.
Yeah.
I'm
so
not
the
really,
Venus is very strong, and I keep pointing to this, that he's got a very complicated brain. Because the ascendant Lord Venus is afflicted by Rahu and Ketu. And Saturn is kind of a eunuch planet that questions it questions whether you are who you are and how you are. Saturn and Mercury influence on your lagna is usually, they say that you start questioning whether you're a man or a woman or how you should dress and so on.
Yes.
Right? So he's got Saturn there, and his Aruda Lagna has Saturn and Ketu. Yeah. So all this is in the same axis. So here you have your intelligence Venus with Saturn and Ketu influencing. And that's why he says all his relationships have dried out. Look at that combination, Venus, Saturn and Ketu. That's a perfect Pavraj. It's a sannyas yoga, isn't it? Yes. And there is the Rahu that drives him wanting different relationships. But it makes his brain very different.
So but it's also the sun in Gemini, in Punarvasu. Gemini is kind of like dual sign, they can't kind of.
True.
Mithuna.
Yeah, but it helps him in his work, that sun in Gemini and the moon in Purafalguni, between music and. But Venus is his only way out, because as I keep saying in the Sarpa Yoga, only a malefics, if you have more than 3 malefics in Kendras, you're caught in life, and his whole intellect is caught, how he's viewing himself, and you have Venus is the only way out. So you do shows, you put on beautiful clothes, all these are Venus. It's also the way to escape out of your own thoughts in a way. I have to say that he's got his what we call as Upapada Lagna, the image of your marital house, the root, I'm not going to count how many, the root Upapada Lagna is in Capricorn with Saturn and Ketu. That's very difficult to attract people to that. It's a very hard, yes, there is a Venus there and a Rahu there that brings people, but how do you get them to stay? So, but then maybe we should, from that Upapada Lagna, I see because it's Ketu and Saturn, either way if you look at it, there's moon in the 5th or the 9th, so there is a promise of a son. So do you have a child?
Yeah, I have a 16-year-old son. He's a bit estranged from me from the last couple of years, but I hope we're going to get back together soon.
Right.
He's a musician as well, he's a drummer.
Oh, that's beautiful. So, your 5th house as a retrograde Jupiter, that's wonderful. And it's in Satabisha, that's a beautiful nakshatra. And but the fact is, what we observe is that when Jupiter is retrograde, there's a tendency to not want children or kind of ignore them a tiny bit. Not because you want to be cruel, but basically you're interested in other things.
Having a child was probably the most reckless thing I ever did. I never planned it, never wanted it. Now he's here, I wouldn't. You can't. As all parents say, you can't regret these things, and I don't. Anyway.
But the Jupiter in the 5th house acts exalted, even though it's in Aquarius. That's a specific Rat rule, isn't it?
Jupiter in the 5th?
In Aquarius.
It's a very beautiful position, the Jupiter in Aquarius. It's a nice spiritual...
But that specifically works as if the Jupiter is in a beautiful... It's exalted. It goes in the 10th in its exaltation.
Yeah. No, that's definitely... But, having Jupiter in the 5th and being retrograde, a retrograde Jupiter is the one that made him ignore his son a bit.
Yeah. Well, I was with a woman who for many years... was from a steady family's background. She used to say, but Diston, one day I want a child. And when I realised it was getting towards the point, it was almost over, I went along with it for some reason, which was very strange in retrospect.
You do have a promise of a child. There's one chart we see that's totally different from others, one divisional chart, in which actually this will happen even when you didn't want it. So you have moon in the 3rd house in the Jagannath Rekana. The 3rd house planets in the 3rd house, you have to take insurance against them. Apparently they happen to you even if you don't want it. And that moon is the Putra Karaka, which is why I thought you might have a son.
I do. But the fact that we both love music, that's our connection. And the fact that if he's going to continue studying music, which he is, he's going to have to mix with people like me sooner or later and get used to the idea. Me and his mum are still sort of like have conflicts. We haven't been together since 2003, and she doesn't seem to have let go of that. Obviously, she thinks I'm a mad bastard, but I was always a mad bastard when I was with her, and I always dressed like a twat when I was with her too.
And she didn't have any problems there?
No. And I remember walking out Cheltenham High Street in her underwear and little else, going to the Axiom. But times have changed, of course. But everyone says that she's changed rather than I have. But like I say, this is just probably stuff you shouldn't be putting on YouTube. Otherwise.
And what does your son think of you like? I mean, does he have a problem with the way you dress?
I think he's adopted his mum's attitude, and he's also embarrassed just because of the conflict we cause. Because I'm sort of a person who can let things go, but she isn't, and we've just grown to a point where we just clash all the time. So it's very, very awkward. It doesn't help when you go. And
he does feel ignored, right?
I think he feels a grudge against me. I think he thinks I'm a mad bastard, and he resents me for going into jail, because before we went into jail, we were quite steady, even though I was having trouble seeing him. I think he's just grown up into his own thing, and he doesn't want the hassle of me being around because I don't get on with his mum.
But you still appear happy though, in spite of everything, which is like the promise of the sun in Punarvasu.
Well, when I came out of jail, Bob, I've read 600 books in jail. I said, we've got a job reviewing books, and it's the best thing I could have done, because it's better than a literature degree. I was spending all my time with popular books because I read arty, obscure, intellectual wanky shit. This was all sort of contemporary novels, and I was used to what people were reading, so it's the perfect training for the job, and that's what got me to Portugal. So it's not happy ever after, but it's progress. And so I, for a man of my age, I've been ridiculously happy the last 2 years.
That's such a nice thing. But I don't think people really know about your skills with the books and the literary bits, right? Well,
I'm a writer, definitely a writer of some description, yeah.
But see, the Mercury as Atmakaraka with mixed up with Venus.
Venus replaced that,
Did you speak about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that gives a great talent for, I mean, that's his
Yeah,
life force.
I'm not a musician, but I hear music, I can mix it and produce it to a point, but writing's my real talent.
Yeah. The only thing is, see, Mercury is exalted in the 4th house in the Navamsha, and you bring it down to your Rashi, it gets into the 12th house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's 9th from Daruda, so it does give him a lot of solace. His, like, your soul is quite satisfied doing that. But it's not in the 11th, because anything in the 11th will give him money.
Yeah.
You know? But there's one thing, the 11th from the Aruda is Scorpio, and the Lord Mars is with Mercury. So he could actually make money out of writing.
I think it, but yeah,
I
have done, yeah. I'm the sort of person who's sort of like is going to make a lot of money after they're dead. You know, they're one of those sort of. You know, I've read all the biographies of these 18th century sort of characters. They die and then everyone loves them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They sound like an exquisite corpse, as it were.
Well, Kali will be happy.
Well, maybe, yeah. Legendary dad.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you've been so happy in the last 2 years. So in the Rahu Venus period, he's gone. You know, you've gone to Lisbon, and you've made a new life for yourself. Venus is in the 10th house in the Navamsha.
Yeah.
So any benefic in the 10th house in the Navamsha gives you huge prosperity. As we all know, there are all kinds of prosperity. It's not necessarily money. And it's given you a lot of satisfaction.
Well, that's good.
With Ketu in the 4th house, you know, even you never want to be home even if you had a nice home. And then Saturn being with Ketu, it just makes it so difficult.
Yeah.
So difficult. So
ironic that you would dress up as a woman, but yet you
I'm not sure where that comes from.
It's like a barrier that you don't want to attract other women to you.
Well, I don't see where what, you know. I look at it. I mean, I laugh at it. You have to laugh at yourself when you go around, as I do. But you know, I actually sort of I think there is something, you know, sexy about it. You know, I don't fancy myself very much. I'm not a massive egomaniac. I'm vain a bit, but you know, I think it's sexy. You know, I hate looking at those guys with sort of like baggy asses and sort of khaki and navy blue. I think, for fuck's sake, do you know what I mean?
There's so much the Purva Falguni, right? So much more Purva.
And I also find the sort of the male, you know, thing is particularly when you get to my age, it's just sort of like, it's just sort of forwards to death. Do you know what I mean? In grey and khaki, and you just think, oh my god. So that's the older I get, the more I enjoy the company of women, and this is, you know, I want the same choice. When I started this, everyone was doing it. It was David Bowie, Roxy Music, those times punk rock. Everyone was dressing up and wearing eyeliner, but now I'm the only one left, and I've just gone more extreme, and everyone else has stopped. And it took me to get to a big city before I got into any gay or transvestite scene, but then there was competition from other people, and it's just got. And when I moved abroad, I had to make a living from show business, so I had to self-promote like mad. And I'm no good at self-promoting myself, saying, I'm fucking great, employ me. I'm no good at that. No one's convinced. But I can look.
Awesome.
Yeah. But it does have its downside, because people sort of employ you for the way you look, rather than all those years I've spent becoming a great writer or a sort of producer of music. They go, oh no, just come on, just sort of stick the fishnets and the miniskirt on and just sort of like act like a twat. So I'm getting more jobs in the theatre than I am as a DJ. So it's.